I'm Alison Tickell and I'm speaking to you from London. Actually, I'm speaking to you from Oxford.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm coming to you today from New York. I'll do that again.
Hi, I'm Jochen Volz, speaking to you from São Paulo in Brazil.
A very warm welcome, or rather snowy welcome, from Verbier. I am Annelieke Brandy and I'm the founder of the Verbier Art Summit. Thank you for joining us on our mission to drive social change through art. We connected and exchanged through digital tools this year, but hope to see you back here in Verbier or at a local Verbier Art Micro Summit in real life very soon. In the meantime, please provide us with your feedback on your virtual experience. And remember, the pandemic showed us how we are all globally connected and that we need to work together to control the virus. The same applies to the climate crisis. It affects all of us, and together we can find solutions. This will be a time of great change, and art can enable such transformations by offering different perspectives on our resource-hungry age. Let's have a look at the perspectives of the last few summit days. At the moment, we have 962 people that registered for this online event. So we're really happy about that, and it expands our global reach, and we can bridge artistic differences, social differences with this global platform.
This format of bringing together people from not only different contexts and countries and places, but also from different ways of thinking and different fields of activities is an amazing experience. When you look at the series of summits that have been there, like from what we did with the Stedelijk Museum, with the Size Matter to Resource Hungry, were more than real, we are many, to Resource Hungry, there is something very interesting, there is some coherence in the themes, how they develop in a way.
Asked to summarize some of the points from 2020 that we learned, I noted the following: that we urgently need to learn from the light touch and holistic thinking of indigenous cultures that have cared for the land for generations, that we need to reassess the spaces, habits, structures, and systems of culture to find new ways to operate and new ways to experience, that nothing less than a total rethink of our values is needed. At a time when all of us in cultural institutions most closely examine our behavior and mission to reimagine a reopening and return that will not and should not be the same as before, these are guidelines and concepts that I will return to in my own work as we move forward together as a team. Rather than using this time to turn inward and retreat from the questions posed in Verbier, now is the moment to reflect on them and how we can evolve in response to them. The phrase oft repeated by Annelieke during the summit, "do less, better," resonates now more than ever. And as I revisit the statement for the summit, once again it reinforces the significance of what was being discussed for the current moment we find ourselves in and the future we must build.
So what is the Anthropocene? The Anthropocene is understood as a new epoch in geological time where for the first time it's the human activity that took over. It's the human activities that are now shaping our environment. It's not the geology anymore, it's us humans. And this is actually something extremely dramatic.
The finished sculpture retains none of the marks and imperfections of the chainsaw. They are smooth and glisten to reveal the intricacies of the wood's hidden grain. This approach links to my work to a wider interest in forest ecology and biodiversity, which I like to evoke through play, connection, and touch.
How can the artist take environmental issue into consideration in his work?
That's the main point, I guess. Try to really protect what's still here, because we have lost so much already.
I think, especially for a young generation, they're very much aware, I think, of many of these topics, maybe more than the older generation. And there I'm quite optimistic. And I think besides that, we can expect from artists that they really attack and they are aware of the crucial themes of today. They are not so much the problem. It's more the problem of the art world, or I would call it the art circus, traveling around, being present everywhere.
The consequence of environmental devastation have made it plain that we need to understand humanity to be an integral part of rather than the center of the world.
At least for an artist like me, it's also a necessity to join forces and to speak together, because the scientists work with data and are very much close to what is happening at the moment, and maybe sometimes doesn't know exactly how to communicate their information, and hopefully maybe somehow we can find a way by working together to communicate those. And I think it's very exciting for artists to be able to speak with scientists, because they have such a knowledge that we have not access otherwise.
Hey, where did all the fish go? I don't know.
Hello, my name is Olafur. I'm an artist and I made a work of art called Earth Speaker. It's about giving the planet a voice through those who are going to inherit it. The people who are going to stay the longest on the planet is the kids. Earth Speaker invites kids to speak up for the planet and adults to listen to what they have to say. It collects and amplifies the ideas and concerns that the kids have about the future.
You could consider making meat in more climate-friendly materials. Just a thought.
Every time a tree is cut, I feel a real sense of grief, but I also see myself immediately pushing past that and kind of ignoring it. And I'm trying not to ignore that grief.
How do we look at nature? How do we represent nature through the art and not through the colonizer gaze? Art has the possibility of breaking the kind of authoritarian spell we find ourselves as a society, as humanity. And that's what I wanted a little bit with this video, that the left side with all its color kind of threw a visual spell into the right side and started kind of distorting these images of corporate nature. We need to look back in order to move forward. And the answers are there in indigenous and traditional knowledge and practices. As artists, we have the power to nurture the soul and to nurture ideas.
The artist is not necessarily at the top of a pyramid. It is one more in a let's say in a collective voice and a collective consciousness.
Welcome to the live Q&A session of the New York debate. My name is Andrea Bowers and I'm the founder of the Verbier Art Summit.
It's a very problematic capitalist system. So let's hope new ideas come and make some great change as this is happening. I think that I want to see more Indigenous artists showing and having a voice, but I'd like to see system change in that process. I just want to say, I think it's so important to find movements and organizations locally that address these issues and pick one organization and get involved with it, you know? And then I think that can change everything. I really believe in the local in terms of movement building and change. And then I think over time that affects the global.
Artists must also be entitled to produce knowledge. It's not only scientists who produce knowledge, but also the artists, and vice versa. We can also consider, we need to consider also the creativity of the scientists.
I think more and more people understand this need to see technology broader than simply efficiency and cost, and to see it as an ecosystem where there is humans and where there is machines.
there are creative scientists and engineers, and similarly, there are artists that follow very narrow processes. But there's a lot of that community that meets in between and shares those particular crosses around experimentation.
A huge problem with the award resource, because in the end of the day, I think, you know, especially through my practice, what I'm trying to kind of convey is this kind of idea of looking at nature, you know, at entities such as soil, as a collaborator, as a kind of non-human maker who is our partner to sustain ourselves in this planet together, rather than a product, than a resource, you know, because resource always kind of brings this kind of connotations of exploitations and colonialism and serving rather than co-working.
Artistas, né, em forma de trabalhos individuais ou coletivos, em redes, que trazem então essa arte política, esse pensamento de arte que mobiliza pensamentos políticos e ativistas para a situação vivida pelos povos indígenas, pela situação em que o meio ambiente tem passado, pelas esferas governamentais e por tudo aquilo que nos causa a resistência e que requer, na realidade, de todo mundo uma resistência, e, ao mesmo tempo, falando de cura, como obras que trazem aí esse sentimento de criação do mundo e manutenção de um mundo, e não é um mundo apenas físico, é um mundo que se entrelaça com realidades, muitas realidades que são conectadas com o universo espiritual, dos encantamentos, como a gente costuma falar no Brasil, mas também com o meio ambiente.
O mais novo precisa do mais velho, precisa aprender os saberes do mais velho, mas o mais velho também precisa do mais novo para continuar. Então é uma visão que não é uma visão vertical, né? Uma visão do círculo, né? Que coloca também as coisas numa outra perspectiva. Então são muitos saberes que sequer as pessoas dentro dessa perspectiva eurocêntrica, né, é ignorado ou tratado como menor, porque se nós somos discriminados, consequentemente os nossos saberes também serão colocados dessa maneira hierárquica, né, ou não considerados saberes, considerado folclore de uma maneira pejorativa.
Se desprende, né? A arte, ela não se desprende dos processos que fazem parte da nossa vida. Todo esse processo de criação, ele atravessa a vida indígena, né? A gente não coloca fragmentado ou dentro de uma caixa, como a gente costuma dizer. Ela faz parte de todo um processo e não se desprende. E aí, como não se desgruda, né? A gente tem todos os conflitos e todos os problemas que são conectados, né, por um pensamento de dominação. A nossa grande discussão hoje é que isso não vire uma questão do momento, ou algo que a gente possa, daqui 1 ano ou 2, ver que foi uma moda, ou que porque começou em uma instituição, a outra fez para não ficar para trás, ou para cumprir uma tabela, ou cumprir um relacionamento com esses outros.
Às vezes a gente foca numa questão individual e a gente não está focando na questão mesmo das grandes indústrias, desse oligopólio, não está focando realmente no debate do capitalismo, né? De quem se beneficia, dos donos dos meios de produção, e como historicamente essas produções que não pensam por uma perspectiva sustentável, já é predatória historicamente.
Julie's Bicycle is founded on 2 ideas. One is that the climate crisis is, in fact, a cultural crisis, and 2, that we cannot wait for the existing system, the status quo, to sort this out for us, because it can't. It brought us here. We've got to change the system, and that means a step change in cultural activities, in policy investment, in training, in tools, and in commissioning and artistic ideas. We need a unifying and a mobilizing international approach that embeds sustainability and justice into the fabric of the arts.
The world around us can be a creative force
It can be a dynamic force and more of a co-creator with humans versus the old sort of idea, even the Enlightenment idea that, well, humans control the environment. They make things. They're the ones who are so creative and brilliant and special.
Okay, today as designer, we have to work, with the element, with the natural element, and we have to say, okay, I'm not the only designer. The wind is also the designer. The heat is also the designer.
It is vital that for our ambitions for art to be a voice and an amplifier of action and change, that we address the numbers and the distance between the individual and the scale of the issues. I do think art can do this. I think it can pierce the film of resistance, not only that hinders, but that also protects us from the realities of our personal journeys that we will all have with our ecological crisis.
What does it mean to act as an international institution if you cannot have physical exchange internationally anymore?
What will this climate emergency actually imply beyond doing less?
What resources are consumed with every single decision, be those the public's attention, our own budgets, or just labor and time of our staff and our different collaborators.
It is interesting how artists sometimes can represent what John Cage called an early alarm system, or where things become visible. This is maybe a good theme for a future summit. Where do we find examples of art actually not just claiming to be or be of political relevance and representing an early alarm system, and where are real examples of that?
I guess just to say very simply that it's kind of more urgent than ever to create or to operate or to perpetuate spaces where new kinds of possibilities can find temporary and perhaps permanent homes. Again and again, people are coming back to this idea of the communities that we build, that we operate, and that we are sort of obliged to and grateful to have in our care.
I think we will have to get used to these hybrid forms of presence, local and international, somehow nested into each other through technological solutions. I guess this will not disappear, even if I'm a bit bored with Zoom.
Zoom tiredness all over.
Eu sou alguém também que sempre defende a arte, obviamente é o lugar onde a gente consegue pensar o impensável, né? O não denominar, que a gente não consegue falar, que não tem palavra, talvez, que tem possibilidades de experimentar e
Então, a arte, ela tem esse poder de tocar, de emocionar, de fazer as pessoas compreenderem, às vezes muito mais profundo do que o próprio meu trabalho mesmo. Eu sempre digo isso, muito minhas amigas artistas que trabalham com diversas linguagens de arte, o quanto que eu sempre falo isso para elas, né? O quanto que às vezes uma peça, uma exposição faz com que as pessoas entendam as coisas e aí depois vá para as pesquisas, muitas vezes.
Como eu disse, eu estou bem instintiva, introspectiva e emocionada, então eu acho que eu vou só fazer um agradecimento interno para todos vocês e que chegue muita felicidade e saúde para todo mundo.